I've made some massive mistakes buying woodworking tools over the years that I really do regret. In this video, I want to go through everything you need to know about buying tools and not make the same mistakes that I made along the way. I hope this video helps you make better buying decisions so that you don't waste your hard-earned money on tools you don't need. To help you out even further, I put together a complete beginner's buyer's guide for woodworking tools. I'll put that as the first link in the description and the pinned comment, as well as all the tools you see in this video today. They'll be down there. Come on. Number one, don't fall for the bigger is better trap. Now, a lot of times you'll see these big tool kits on sale, on a sale, flash sale, and they'll have a bunch of different tools in there, some of which you probably will never use. You see it all the time. You see this 10 tool set and it's got like 3 work lights and some fan or something. It's not necessary. Now, you might want a work light, you might want a fan, that's fine. But just make sure that you look at this tool set and you're not getting a bunch of fluff added to it and that you're not going to need, because most likely you can find another set that has all the tools you need at a better price. So be careful with that. Make sure those tools in that combo kit are what you're going to need versus what you actually want, because sometimes they fluff those up. And then also a lot of times they will put the brush tools in a giant kit mixed with a couple of brushless tools. So be sure and read those descriptions and make sure that you're getting all brushless tools. And then sometimes they put in some of their cheaper batteries and things like that. So just be sure that you're researching this and read through the product description to make sure you're getting exactly what you want. Also, when you're looking at, say, a miter saw, you look at a 12-inch miter saw, you think bigger is better. And while most of the time that is true, I had a 12-inch miter saw, that DeWalt right there. I've had it for a very long time. It's nice having the extra cut capacity, but when I moved to a 10-inch saw, I thought I would miss that 12-inch a lot, and I haven't. There's only been a couple of times where I really wish that there was a little bit more capacity, but for the most part, the 10-inch saw has been fine. So just kind of look at what you're going to be building or what you're building right now, and just decide, is that bigger tool necessary for what you're building? Another thing you should avoid is brand loyalty myths, because a lot of times you think DeWalt, they make all the greatest tools, or Milwaukee, they make all the greatest tools, and that's the only thing that I'll buy. And I see that a lot. And one thing is, once you buy into a battery platform, it's hard mentally to say, I don't want another battery platform in the shop. However, check this out. I think Ryobi makes amazing tools, and they have a ton to choose from. I think DeWalt, Milwaukee, Bosch, Rigid, Makita, like they all make amazing tools, and they work extremely well. But some brands have tools that others don't. For instance, the Milwaukee M12 line. Now, I'm a huge fan of this line of tools, and if I was buying it over, starting over today in my shop, I would probably go with the M12 starting out, because they offer specific tools that I absolutely find useful and I love in the shop. They just come out with the new sanders. Fairly expensive, but they're very nice. But they also have the 3-inch orbital detail sander. They have the orbital detail sander with that little triangle shaped head on it. And the drills and impacts that they have work fantastic for woodworking, for drilling holes and driving screws, and they're lightweight. But if I need some more power, need a little extra oomph or an extra battery life, I do like the DeWalt line of drills and drivers. I like the Ryobi line of drills and drivers. So just be careful that you're not brand loyal just because it's brand loyal, and it's not really, they don't have the tools that you're going to want and need inside that battery platform. Now, they may come out with them later, they may not, but just be careful with being so loyal that you're missing out on other tools. Another thing to avoid is overbuying specialized tools early on. I went quite a while without a table saw. Now, table saws are absolutely amazing, and I think they are a close to essential woodworking tool as you can get without being absolutely essential, because I built a ton of projects with just a circular saw and a couple of drills. While the table saw would have been absolutely amazing to have and probably been very helpful, it wasn't an essential tool, and they're one of the more expensive, bigger power tools that you can buy. Now, there's some really good budget options out there. I think Skil makes one of the best budget options on the market. I also like the little DeWalt 8 1/4 saw that I have. I think they're really good options for about $300 or less. But when I first started, $300 might have well been $10,000, because I wasn't having it. I didn't have it. I couldn't get it. I was just going to have to work and save up for it. So just be careful with overextending yourself or trying to get the biggest, best tool when you first start, because it's not necessarily mandatory. Instead, focus on versatility and build what you can with what you've got. And then from there, once you start selling projects and making a little bit of money with your stuff, then you can use those profits and then upgrade your tools. That's how we did it, and it works very well. I've seen a lot of other people do that as well. Now, there's a few things you don't want to waste your money on, and I've fallen victim to this myself. First are cheap tools that are not going to last. For instance, those cheap chisels. I wasted money on that. When I very first started out, I went to Walmart and bought a hyper tough sander for like 15 bucks, 20 bucks. It lasted about 2 days before it burned up because I was using it way more than it was intended to be used for. It's kind of like when you walk into Harbor Freight. They have their good, better, best, right? They have Chicago Electric or whatever that brand is. It's the lower brand. Then they have the Bauer, then they have the Hercules. Chicago Electric or whatever that lowest brand is will probably be good for a small one-time project. The Bauer, probably good for the weekend warrior. The Hercules, probably better for those who are using them more regularly. So be sure you're looking at the tool that you're going to buy for the project and not buying the tool that's because it's the cheapest, because sometimes that's not going to work out. When do you get planers and jointers and table saws and bandsaws? When you're first starting out, don't worry about that stuff. They're nice to have. They're just not a mandatory thing to get started. Again, the most important thing is to get started because you'll pick up those tools along the way as you've determined that those are needed when they're needed. A thickness planer is good when you start milling down your own lumber to save a little money on hardwoods, or you want to get everything the same thickness. A jointer is great if you don't have other options to joint the edge of boards or the face of boards. So just start considering those as you get more experience, because there's ways around most of those things if you have other tools. So it's just one of those things that come later. Just don't let all of that hinder you from getting started. Don't get overwhelmed with, well, I don't have $1,000 to get started. I don't have $500 to get started. I have $100 or I have $50. You can get started with $50. Borrow a circular saw, borrow a drill, and then buy the materials with the money that you have. Sell the product that you made, repeat the process until you have enough to buy the tool that you need next. But you got to start. Another tool buying mistake to avoid is not taking into consideration consumables when you start woodworking. Dull blades and dull bits will make your life miserable. I know, I've been there. But if you take into consideration that you can buy really good stuff at not break the bank prices, Diablo makes some really good blades. I've used those for years. CMT ITK Extreme is basically Diablo comparative. I've seen some very good Irwin blades. Like most of your box store blades, if you don't buy the cheapest ones, you buy the middle of the road blades, you're probably going to be just fine cutting different things. Now you want a lower tooth count blade if you're ripping wood. In other words, you're cutting down the center of a 2x4 or 2x6 or 2x8 all the way down. And a higher tooth count if you're cutting stuff like plywood. That way it gets a better, cleaner cut. And the cheaper blades typically don't give you a good clean cut after just a little bit of use because they dull very quickly. And that's why you want to think about getting at least the middle of the road type blades. And of course sandpaper, if you buy the cheapest sandpaper, it doesn't last as long. It doesn't give you as good a finish. And if you can get the middle of the road sandpaper, works great. I like the 3M extract sandpaper or even Festool granite. Both of those are quite a bit more expensive than the middle of the road sandpaper. I'll link to some of my good, better, best in the description. And then of course wood glue, Type Bond 2 or 3, Type Bond 3 if you're doing cutting boards or outdoor furniture. Boss Dog glue, we also sell that on faithvaluetools.com. You're just going to need some wood glue because it helps make things stay together. The next thing we want to talk about is where to buy tools when you're on a budget. And even if you're not on a budget, nobody likes spending money that they don't have to. I'm going to teach you how to save some money right now. First thing to do is you can compare prices at different retailers depending on what tools you're going to buy. With that in mind, be careful where you buy certain brands. I'll talk about that. First, if you're looking at, say, DeWalt, most major stores carry them. Home Depot, Lowe's, Acme Tools, Amazon. Compare prices at each of these different places to see if you're getting the best deal. Because if you don't know, Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon, Acme Tools, they all have regular sales on a different product line. So you want to check those prices to make sure you're getting a good deal. Another thing to consider on Home Depot, Lowe's, that sort of thing, you can join for free their rewards programs. I think it's Lowe's Pro program. I'm not sure what Home Depot calls theirs. It's a free to join program, and a lot of times you can get member only deals if you join that. They'll send you an email saying, hey, this is on sale today, and you can save some money that way. And as stated before, Home Depot, if they have a rental department in their store, a lot of times will sell off their used tools, so that could be a good way to save as well. Another way you can save is look for regular deals, and I know a lot of people don't have time to dig through tons and tons of websites to find those. I do that for you. I post deals every single day on my website, 731woodworks.com. If you click on the Tool Deals button, you'll see that right there. And you can even sign up for text alerts where I text out the best of the best deals whenever I find those. I don't spam you, and I'm not going to text you late or early, but I will text you when I find a great deal. And that's the best way to keep up with what's on sale so you can save the most money possible. But if you don't want to do either one of those, you can check out a website called slickdeals.net. No association whatsoever, but I use those regularly because you can look for tool deals inside of that, or you can set up deal alerts. Say if I wanted to find the best deal on the rigid circular saw, all I have to do is go to that website, type in rigid circular saw, and set up a deal alert. It will email me when this goes on sale. That's a fantastic option. If you're wanting a specific tool that you're in the market for, it'll just let you know. Then of course, if you just want to keep up with the latest and greatest deals at Home Depot or Lowe's or your favorite website, just bookmark their deals page. Like Home Depot and Lowe's do daily deals. Sometimes they have toilets on sale, sometimes they have tools on sale, so you just have to dig through that. But you can check out their daily deals where they'll have a 24-hour only deal. Those are some of the best deals you'll get outside of the holidays. And speaking of holidays, if you can wait, a lot of times it's better to wait to get closer to these major holidays, because a lot of times you'll have Independence Day sales, Labor Day sales, Memorial Day sales, Black Friday sales, Christmas sales. It goes on and on and on. At least once a month, in most months, you're going to have a very good sale somewhere at some website. Again, it's probably why you should be following my deals page. And as we stated earlier, you can check pawn shops, Facebook Marketplace, estate sales, and buy the tools used, save a little money. Now let's talk about stretching your tool budget even further. Number one, multi-use tools that you buy will give you more bang for your buck. For instance, if you buy the drill and driver combo kit, you have a drill to drill pilot holes, you have a impact driver to drive screws with, you got those both in a kit. Or if you picked it up with a circular saw, now you have a way to cut the wood and put together all in one little kit. Or a jigsaw, you can cut straight cuts with it, you can cut curved cuts with it, you can cut plywood with it, you can cut 2x with it. It's a very versatile tool that gives you a ton of uses. Or the router, where you can do various different edge profiles like roundovers or chamfers. You can even cut rabbets, or you can cut dados. Like a router is one of the most versatile tools you can own in the shop. So when you get something like those tools that can do a bunch of different projects in a bunch of different ways, you're just getting more bang for your buck. Now this UFO looking thing might just help your tool budget go further. Regular maintenance is important, and I have failed at this more times than I have succeeded. If your blades and bits get dirty, especially if you're cutting more sap producing woods like pine, it really gums up things and makes your cuts look really bad, and you might think that your blade is dull when it's actually just dirty, or your bit. And one of the great things you can do is just clean those things. This is from Microjig. It's the blade clean system. I have had this for a little while, and I think it's great for just being able to clean your table saw blades, circular saw blades, router bits. Like, it's a very easy to use thing. It's about $100, but long term, if you think about keeping your stuff clean, it'll pay for itself pretty quickly. And then I just use simple green cleaner, dump in there, dilute it with a little bit of water, and then you can just easily clean blades and bits with this, and it's self-contained, so when I'm done using it, I can stick it up here. That's where it lives. Also with tool maintenance, like if you got cast iron tools like band saws, jointers, table saws, it's very important to keep the tops of those maintained. You can do that fairly inexpensive with something like paste wax, which you'll have to apply pretty regularly. One of my favorite products that's come out in the last couple of years is Carbon Method. It's very easy to apply, and it's very long lasting. It's basically like an armor coat for the top of your cast iron stuff to keep it, one, slick, where things move and slide on there very easily, but most importantly, prevents rust. I think it's a good product, and I use it on my stuff. So when is it okay to buy cheap tools versus more expensive stuff? Well, it depends on what you're building and what you're going to be doing. When I first started, I was broke as a joke. I had $100 to my name, and I took that $100 and bought some 2x4s and went and borrowed those tools from family members so I could start building. So I didn't have a whole bunch of money to invest in tools or supplies or anything else. So I think it's important to buy what you need with what you've got. There's a lot of good options out there, but sometimes it doesn't matter what the best option is, it's what you can afford to get started to help you achieve that dream. And that's one thing I don't want people to get stuck on is, well, I can't afford the Ryobi drill. And so just go to Walmart and grab the Hyper Tough drill. Maybe it lasts 2-3 projects, but if you can build those projects and sell them and then use the profits to buy the Ryobi or the Rigid or whatever brand you like, then you're further ahead than you would have been if you hadn't started at all. Because when I had that $100 to my name, that's all I had. Because that $100 extra was outside the norm of things because we were paycheck to paycheck, 4 months behind on our mortgage. Like, it was bad. And so when I had that $100, I knew I was wanting to turn it into something. And I didn't have a whole lot of money to do that. But I knew I wanted to start. And so the most important thing is to start and not let something like, well, I can't afford a Ryobi or a Harbor Freight or whatever hold you back. Ask family, friends if you can borrow some tools for the weekend. Get started. That's what matters most. Another thing you might consider on stretching your budget is warranties of tools. Now, I've only had one time I had to activate the lifetime service agreement on a rigid tool. It was my rigid router. It went up in smoke. It was on camera, actually. And so it was one of those things where I had never had to use the lifetime service agreement. It was really easy. And now they even make it easier because I had to take mine to a local shop and drop it off and then go back and pick it up. Now you just ship it in and they fix it or give you a new one and send it back. Depending on, they fixed mine, didn't give me a new one. But if for whatever reason they have to give you a new one, they will. It was very seamless is what I'm getting at. And so that might be important to you. The rigid lifetime service agreement is great. Is it the end all be all? No, because most of these battery platforms now have 3 and 5 year warranties. And in most cases, if something's going to go wrong, it's probably going to go wrong in the first year or less. And then if you use and abuse the tool for 7 years and it goes out, then I kind of think you got your money in most places. The rigid router I totally used and abused and got well worth my money. But they did fix it, so that's the thing. Most importantly, above all else, no matter what tool brand you go with, no matter what tools you buy or don't buy, the main thing is if you're interested in woodworking and you're just getting started, just start with what you got or what you can borrow, because that's all that matters. Things will happen for you if you just start. Now, it's important to pick the right projects, especially if you're going to sell things. In the springtime, outdoor stuff sells better. So if it's springtime, you can look at outdoor planters, outdoor furniture, that sort of thing. End tables and stove covers and that sort of thing was huge for us. We built a ton of that stuff. So there's a lot of ways to make money woodworking outside of your traditional thinking of, well, I got to make a cutting board to sell those. I didn't make a cutting board my first 5 years of doing woodworking. It just wasn't important to me. I was more focused on what I wanted to make to sell, and market research plays a big part in that. I got 45 plus project ideas that actually sell. You can have for free. I'll put that as the first link in the description. It's school.com/731woodworks. You can go check that out. Get those for free, plus a little mini course on how to make money woodworking. If you want to join us there, come do it. You should check out part 1 of this video series right there, Buying Guide for Woodworking Tools, exactly what order you need to buy these tools in. Click in that box, get you the big old virtual fist bump.